Okay, so now you've got your lathe all set up and you're ready to start turning some wood. We're going to start out with some squared off blanks of wood. And we want to make them round. This is where the roughing gouge comes into play. The roughing gouge is used to take irregular or squared off wood blanks and making them round. Now let's take a close look at the end of a roughing gouge and identify some of its parts. This large opening at the top is called the flute. This area right here is the bevel. And the tip of the bevel is the cutting edge right there. Okay, so now we've got our wood blank mounted on the lathe. Before we go any further, I must stress the importance of wearing a face shield. If you consider the direction of the wood turning, when you apply any tool, if it were to get a catch, that's where the tool digs into the wood. The wood could come loose. And that direction of rotation would force the piece of wood to come up towards your face. Let's take a look at how we have our wood mounted and how we have our tool rest adjusted. You want to have the tool rest slightly below center of the wood. That way our cutting tool, in this case the roughing gouge, will be right at center. We want to have the tool rest set close to the piece of wood in order to get support, but not so close whereas we would get a hit when the wood turned. Here you notice the wood is turning freely. If it's too close, the wood can catch on the tool rest. Now we're ready to start turning. Now remember the turn A, B, C. Anchor, bevel, cut. I've removed our piece of square stock and replaced it with a piece that's already been rounded to make it easier to understand how this ABC principle works. Let's take a close-up look and see how this works. The first thing you would do is anchor the tool against the tool rest. If you didn't do this and you were just to go in to cut the wood would engage the tool, drive it down into the tool rest, and the piece of wood can be dislodged because you'd get a terrible catch. So once again, anchor the tool, A. B. Let the bevel of the tool ride against the wood. To do this, we slightly raise the handle up, and the wood will rub against the bevel of the tool. Then C, cut. We raise the handle further, and we engage the cutting surface of the tool, and this will start the cutting process. Okay, at this point you'll notice I remounted our square piece of stock. Now again, check the height of your tool rest. With the tool sitting on the tool rest, you want to have the cutting edge of the roughing gouge pretty much equal with the center of the piece of wood. And you can see this is lined up nicely. As I stated earlier, when you're starting out, you want to have the opening of the flute face the direction of the cut. This doesn't always have to be the case. You can cut with the flute facing the other direction or straight up and down, depending on the type of cut you want to get. So here we go. We turn on our lathe. We anchor our tool on the rest. Then we raise the handle and start to cut. Now after cutting for a while, you'll notice a gap will develop between your tool rest and the piece of wood. At this point you want to turn your lathe off, slightly move the tool rest in a little bit closer, tighten it down, and then resume cutting. Now you want to periodically check to see if your wood is round. You don't have to turn the lathe off to do this. Here's a trick. Simply lay your tool on top of the piece of wood. If you detect some bouncing, the stock is not totally round. We'll continue cutting. And now we're not getting any bouncing, which indicates our stock is now round. And there we go. And now we've got a nice round piece of stock that's ready to be shaped into whatever you desire. I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching.